Hey, I know you. You're that jaywalking punk anarchist.
You're that jaywalking punk anarchist. Jaywalking punk anarchist.
Hello, this is the Radical Reviewer taking a look at Mouth to Mouth, a 2005 film by Allison Murray. The key idea of this film is that groups need structures and protocols in place to avoid pseudo-authoritarian rule, corruption, and abuse. For folks who are familiar with the story Animal Farm, this film's lesson will seem pretty familiar. But what do you think, Lance and Dave?
Hey, Radical Reviewer.
And Radical Reviewees.
Who read the reviews.
Radically.
I'm Lance.
I'm Dave.
And we're the Serfs. And yeah, we're here to help the good radicalist review Mouth to Mouth.
Yes.
Yeah. We did not like this movie. If I can be frank.
So a little background, I guess.
Yeah.
Mouth to Mouth was a 2005 film starring Ellen Page. Directed...
Little baby Page.
Yeah, she was not a well-known actor at the time.
Yep.
It's directed by Allison Murray. She's a Canadian director. It's a very, I wouldn't say budget. How would you describe? I mean,
it's definitely an indie.
It's definitely an independent film.
Yeah.
You know, it's a low budget film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the plot of the movie basically revolves around.
Well, he's gonna do the whole plot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
well, he's gonna edit this anyway, right? You're gonna edit this, right?
Don't make us look dumb.
Yeah.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, I could make you look cool. No, I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's take a look at the film in depth. The film opens with our main character, Sherry, wearing dark lipstick and skipping school. Basically, she's awesome. We then see the character Tiger giving a sort of Matrix-style, don't you feel like there's more to life, don't you want to break out of the system type speech. And then we see Tiger giving the pitch to Sherry. He wants her to check out this group called Spark. We then see a girl passed out on the ground, and people are explaining that it is an overdose, and they're discussing what to do. Oh, it's Tiger, and he's giving a demonstration on CPR to a group of homeless youth. Then we start to see what this Spark group is all about. We find out that Spark stands for Street People Armed with Radical Knowledge. This group seems pretty cool. They explain that they have a qualified medic, and that they want to empower people to take care of themselves and each other. We're then introduced to the group's leader, Harry, who explains,
"We want to give homeless young people a course of intellectual self-defense. So you won't be fooled by your teachers, your parents, the cops, and their bullshit."
And what about you bullshit?
Exactly, or my bullshit. Conventional wisdom says what? You should get off the street. You should get into a house, get into a job, a 9-to-5 job, a cog in the wheel, right? But maybe there's another way.
Cool, seems like a pretty hip group. Kind of like the mutual aid type stuff that the Black Panther Party did with free clinics and free breakfast programs and such. We then see that this group Spark is living and traveling in 2 vans, and Sherry decides to join them. But there is a little bit of a culture shock living with this group.
Hey, who stole all my makeup and stuff?
It's not your bag.
Excuse me?
No, it's not your bag.
What do you mean that's not my bag?
Your bag had makeup stuff in, right? But this doesn't. It's not your bag. It's not your bag.
Look, do you see this? Blue Russian Air Force badge. It's my bag.
This blue Russian Army patch, that's yours. But the bag belongs to everybody. Right?
Okay, so it seems like this group goes a little further than the "we aren't coming for your toothbrush" type thing. This reminds me of the part in Animal Farm where Boxer throws away the horse whip, but he also throws away his hat, which he loves, because he's giving up all the articles of the oppressive system, even those that he likes. Also, for those who have seen the movie The East, this is pretty similar to the dinner scene in that movie. Basically, it's a bit of a culture shock, both for Sherry and for us as an audience who's probably used to the unspoken and unassessed cultural norms of capitalist mainstream society. And we feel like we're being attacked by this different value system. We're then introduced to a character named Pedro, or should I say, Blade. a person who is high on drugs, and they're trying to get him to join the methadone program. And Harry says,
What kind of world do you want to live in?
I don't know. What do you mean?
I mean, close your eyes and picture the perfect world.
I would be high all the time.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that, right? You wake up high, you go to sleep high. Now you imagine being that high without drugs.
We then see Doc giving out the methadone to the members of Spark, and we see that the two characters, Mad Axe and a young boy named Manson, are friends. We see the group dumpster diving for food, which most of them are used to, but Sherry doesn't want to do it. Again, this is culture shock. She hasn't been in a position where she's that desperate for food, and she hasn't had to think critically about the amount of food that goes wasted while people are hungry. We then see that Spark is doing a sort of food not bomb situation where they made big pots of soup and they're giving it away to other homeless folks. And Harry tells Tiger that he'll see him at the festival, so they're going to a festival apparently. We then see Mad Axe and Manson digging through garbage cans and trying to sell the contents. As they drive in the night, Tiger explains that Harry has this piece of land, which is where they're ultimately going, called the Harbon Olympius, and Harry has these big ideas to make a commune paradise. They then make another stop. We see Doc asking for money and Mad Axe offering to let people step on him for money, and we see Sherry and Nancy drinking and smoking together and talking about their home lives. Nancy explains that she's slept with Harry. I'm not sure if I believe her, and then Sherry admits that she's a virgin. This isn't so much about the political ideas of the film, but it's important to know these facts because they play into the coming-of-age aspect of the story. We then cut to Sherry, who's drunk and on the phone with her mom, explaining that they're going to a music festival in Spain, and she's complaining that her mom isn't being fair or understanding of Sherry's actions, since her mom was doing crazy things when she was Sherry's age.
Mom? No, you're not listening to me, okay? No. Everything is not just gonna be okay, all right? And, I'm not coming back this time, so you can just forget it. Just forget it and just fuck off.
Sherry admits to the group that she called her mom, and they explain that that's not exactly allowed. I feel split on this. Like, sometimes political action calls for a certain amount of anonymity, and Sherry calling her mom might lead to exposing folks in the group who wanted to remain anonymous. For example, the homeless shelter I used to work at had a strict anonymity policy because you could never be certain that a concerned parent or family member or partner who is trying to get in contact with someone is actually an abuser that the person in question is fleeing from. And so we never gave out the names of anyone who is or had ever been to the shelter. But at the same time, I've seen enough documentaries and movies about cults to know that this sort of isolation from people outside the group is exactly what cults do. We then see one of the vans make a stop. I guess Harry's van is already at the festival, but the rest of the group is stopping to do some dumpster diving.
Yeah, they're saying eat us.
Hey guys, this is not a good idea to stop here.
All right, come on, little buddy, you're going in. Watch, Batgirl. Batgirl. Ready? Manson!
What the fuck? Dude, get in the fuck out of there!
What do you think I'm doing?
Fuck.
Shut the fuck up!
Help him, Tiger! Don't move him. It'll make the bleeding worse. Get some mattresses. Get the cushions. The cushions.
This is no good.
Shut up and come on.
I'm gonna get Harry. I should get Harry.
If you think of abandoning me, little
What?
buddy, I will
What?
fuck you up!
Harry arrives and berates them for dumpster diving. We then get this interesting dance scene. This scene totally reminds me of the drug-taking scenes from Requiem for a Dream. Basically trying to convey in a film the feeling of what's happening rather than just showing it directly. In this way, it's like there isn't really words or teary-eyed close-ups or screaming or a monologue that could properly convey what's going on in a way that does justice to the situation, and so dancing is used to express it. There's probably a term for this in film theory, but I'm no film student, so I don't know what it's called. Anyway, the gang keeps going. But Mad Axe isn't taking it well. He takes the methadone bottle from Doc and starts chugging it. They arrive at the festival, and Harry confronts Sherry for calling her mom.
I want you to be honest with me. I heard you called your mom. You think you're up to this?
No. I'm sorry. It's just what I feel right now is really
Listen.
confused.
I doubt your commitment to this group, and I want you to prove it to me. You understand me? I need you to prove your commitment to this group. This is not a game, Sherry. This is real life. You're fucking with people's lives.
Most of Harry's motivational speeches have this weird, they give me a weird feeling, this dissonance. I agree with his intentions and even a bit of what he's saying, but I still get this weird vibe. At the festival, everyone's doing drugs. Doc invites folks to the clean camp, and Sherry and Nancy decide to drink and take acid instead. Sherry's mom arrives at the festival looking for Sherry. Mad Axe talks to Sherry and says that he would have sex with her if she wants, and then berates her for basically being a tourist who doesn't belong in the group. After her discussion with Harry, this probably feels pretty isolating. Her last conversation with her mom was isolating and she felt misunderstood, and her last conversation with Harry was isolating because she felt left out of the group. And now, again, she's being told she doesn't belong. Or as DeBoard states, when constantly growing capitalist alienation at all levels makes it increasingly difficult for workers to recognize and name their own misery, forcing them to face the alternative of rejecting the totality of their misery or nothing, the revolutionary organization has to learn that it can no longer combat alienation with alienating forms. Back to the film. Someone is driving one of the vans around in circles with a mattress being pulled behind it that people are jumping on and off of. Everyone starts shouting Manson's name. Sherry's cheering and breaks one of the van windows in excitement. Harry sees this and they have this awkward stare down. Has she crossed the line? She was already on thin ice. Is she now being totally kicked out of the group? Banned? Cancelled? But to our surprise, Harry starts yelling Manson's name also, and charges the van and throws a flaming branch into it, and the van bursts into flames. It becomes a celebratory funeral pyre. We then see Tiger carry Sherry away, and she's very out of it. She's drunk and on acid after all. Sherry's mom has given up on looking for her and began enjoying the festival. This is our first glimpse into the pull between Sherry's mom's various goals, nostalgia for her own rebellious youth that she lost by becoming a mother, and her desire to be a mother to Sherry. And even this motherhood has splits, like part of her wants to coddle and protect Sherry, and another part feels like maybe it's time to let her go and make her own mistakes and grow up. The van burns and Tiger goes down on Sherry, and Sherry decides she's ready to no longer be a virgin, I think. But we then see Harry's face, and Sherry throws her clothes back on and runs away. To add to the sting of the whole night, Mad Axe exclaims,
You're doing the right thing going back to mommy and daddy.
Go fuck yourself.
Sherry decides to leave the group, and despite the redemptive van fire, she still feels like she doesn't belong. She begins to hitchhike, but then her mom finds her, and with everything that's been going on, she decides to get in the car, hug her mom, and cry. But her mom's understanding turns into downplaying and dismissing and patronizing, etc., etc. I'm sure you've been in this situation with your own folks. Sherry's mom reminds Sherry why she left in the first place. They start arguing, and Sherry decides she doesn't want to come home. And we get another dance sequence, again trying to convey this complex interaction. Sherry wants to leave, and her mom doesn't understand and tries to downplay and dismiss Sherry's experiences, and Sherry wants to break free and be her own person, and the group did drop the ball a lot recently with Manson's death and making Sherry feel like she's not really a part of it, and with the van and the sexual assault, what to do. In the end, they part ways, but Sherry's mom does find the flyer for Spark. Sherry's back to hitchhiking again, and she gets a ride to Habon Olympias. Everyone greets her. They're happy to see her. Nancy hugs her, and all their heads are shaved. What is this, Project Mayhem? It all seems super happy, except, oops, Sherry's mom is there also. Sherry's mom wants to talk to Sherry alone, but that's against the rules of the group. Again, I feel conflicted about these group protocols. The group gathers in a circle, and they all sing a song about Spark. Then, confession time.
A few confessions we have to deal with today. So who's first?
Okay. Last night, I broke into the wine cellar.
Boo.
Get it!
Which I now know is off limits. So I asked for punishment.
How about the chilies?
Sorry. Here are 6 chilies. You gotta chew and swallow each one.
Again, like a lot of other things, I get this weird vibe. Like, is it silly hazing and it's fine, or is there actually something strange going on? On the one hand, it's a good practice to have methods of maintaining accountability. Groups don't always have the best protocols for administering criminal justice. However, not gonna lie, I still get this weird vibe. We then get a montage of life in Habon Olympius, people doing farming and hanging out and shaving heads, etc., etc. We then see Blade giving a demonstration on how to trim grapes. Then Mad Axe explains that there is no sex allowed, and Blade pipes in and says that it is because sex is selfish and takes energy away from the group. Mad Axe then explains that there's another form of punishment they use called the pit. So obviously, there's trouble in paradise. The no privacy and no intimacy rules run contrary to our natural inclinations. And now also this pit is a representation of excessive force in this supposedly democratic, collective, egalitarian society. This reminds me of the Chinese idiom, cutting the foot to fit the shoe. Basically, they're solving problems with solutions that don't take into account human desires. They're attempting to distort human desires to meet the goals of the group, rather than organizing the group in such a way to meet their goals and account for human desires. Now, don't try and go all reactionary and be like, see, communism is unnatural, leftism destroyed. There are plenty of books and lectures by various folks explaining how capitalism and the goals and motivations of capitalism are completely antithetical to human goals and desires, and there's mountains of anarchist and communist theory that argues that collective participatory decision-making is a lot more harmonious to our desires than capitalism. But I digress. We see everyone playing and having fun. Harry brings Sherry over to vote on if Sherry can have her head shaved and become part of the group. Mad Axe refuses to vote. Sherry only gets half her head shaved since only half the people voted to accept her into the group. Sherry's beaten down. She starts chanting, "Spark it up," and working hard. Harry then gives a speech.
I want to feel that every one of us is totally committed. See, we can't risk attitude that could break us apart just when we've come so far. So, I've asked a few of you to act as agent provocateurs. To act as if you want to leave, to incite others, to break rules, get high, whatever, to keep us on our toes. Anyone overhearing others saying negative stuff should recognize that these are tests and tell me right away. If you fail to report, then we'll have to agree on a punishment to be decided by the group. We need to stick together and stay strong. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
This is classic Vanguard Party. The group eating itself alive, like the Purges and the Paris Commune and left cancel culture and gatekeeping, and like in Animal Farm when Napoleon and Squealer are spreading lies about Snowball. This is the kind of shit we gotta look out for. This is exactly the lesson of the film. Like, yeah, there's bad faith actors and agent provocateurs and folks getting bad jacketed and snitch jacketed and stuff, and we need to be on the lookout for that stuff. But at the same time, we can't let our protocols which protect us turn into what Mark Fisher called the Vampire Castle, or what Radiant Tapai called the Upside Down Vampire Castle. They reach the last day of the harvest and the last day of the methadone program, and everyone is celebrating. Harry asks Sherry what's up and they speak privately. Again, this is against the rules. The weird, dumb rules, but the rules all the same. It's not so much about breaking the rules as it is about Harry feeling like he alone is allowed to justify his breaking of them.
I feel like you don't want me here.
I'm so sorry that you feel that way.
They hug, and Sherry feels accepted and the warmth from this authority figure, and Harry starts kissing her. Harry leans over her, and it seems romantic, but then we get this far away shot of Harry coming, and it seems very pathetic and quick and weak and shameful. Sherry asks if he's okay, and he shivers and gets up and quickly gets dressed, and when she reaches towards him, he pulls away, and he just walks away without saying anything, leaving Sherry sitting on the cold ground crying. We cut to the next day. Sherry's doing chores and sees that her mom is going to return the rental car because she's gonna stay full time. We see Harry confront Doc alone. He says,
You think you should have access to me anytime you want. There's other people here too. You think you're more important than them?
Doc has clearly been crying. Harry rips up her papers and says,
You know what your problem is? No one's ever really loved you. Have they? Because you're very hard to love.
So, Harry has gone full cult leader. Or perhaps this behavior has always existed, it's just been hidden. Sherry sees this whole exchange. We then cut to folks singing Spark It Up, and Doc and Sherry are, like folks often do in abusive situations, acting like nothing's wrong. Harry walks up and starts talking about how they need to stay strong and stick together, and that some people have shown constant weakness. Harry starts talking about how someone has kept testing his love, and how this person has neglected the group and focused on their own selfish desires. He kneels behind Sherry.
You came to me. You came to me wanting attention, didn't you? Go ahead, tell the group what happened. Take your time.
I came to you because I felt left out and I needed some help.
We see that Sherry wants to discuss this in private or even not at all, but Harry is forcing the situation to be public where he has the greatest power to shape the narrative. It's very important that Sherry's mom just so happens to be absent for this interaction.
Was it good?
Yes, I guess.
Connie, was it good?
I don't know, it's my first time.
Blade exclaims that rule breakers should be punished, and Harry states,
You broke a rule that you agreed to keep, and what's worse is you made me break a rule too.
Let's talk about Ben Shapiro for a second. Ben is typically framed as totally owning people with his sick one-liners, and I will grant him that he is clever and quick on his feet and good at misrepresenting people's arguments to look good during a debate. But here's the problem. There is a lot that goes into a debate that isn't just the facts. And that is convenient for Ben Shapiro since the facts aren't on his side. Now, Ben shapes the perception of the debate with his posturing and his oratory skill for sure, but also he speaks from a podium, on a stage, under a spotlight to a crowd who laughs at his quips, while responding to people who are not versed in public speaking and who are not standing on stage and who are not under a spotlight. And Ben likes to keep it that way. That's how he controls the narrative in the face of being wrong. In this same way, Harry is clearly manipulating the interpretation of events, totally distorting his own agency and actions in the situation. He is reversed victim and victimizer. But what's the point of this lesson? This is useless for us on the left. We're super hip to hierarchy and oppression and stuff.
Speaking of misogyny, there's actually something else I need to address, which is I've seen many accounts of rapes happening at various Occupies, and the response to these rapes by the Occupy movement in general has been appalling. There's been a lot of victim blaming and a near complete refusal to hold rapists accountable. In one city, they were trying to talk women out of reporting the rapes for fear it would embarrass the movement. But what's embarrassing is the rapists, and what's embarrassing are the rapes themselves, and what's embarrassing is the response by the Occupy movement to the rapes. In one town, the Occupy movement put out a statement that refused to use gender-specific language about women being raped, saying, quote, if he/she is raped, what the fuck is the use of a movement ostensibly aimed at holding the exploiters of Wall Street accountable when so many men in this movement aren't even willing to hold rapists accountable?
In organizations, especially like left-wing organizations, how there still is rampant sexual abuse.
Oh,
and,
of course.
And it's a huge problem, but it's one that, even under like the Bernie Sanders campaign, there's like, huge amounts of sexual impropriety, and that's not something they really talk about, obviously, because it hurts brand.
Yeah, right? It always kind of falls back to that, where the left is supposed to be woke and care about people of color and people, women and such. Yeah. But the same rampant abuses take hold in that paradigm as well. Yep. And because it hurts your brand.
Because it hurts your brand.
Everybody isn't willing to tackle it head on.
Yeah.
Joe Biden style.
Joe Biden style. This was just a campaign promo for Joe Biden.
Okay, back to the film. It's here that we see the pit. It's in the bottom of a well, and Sherry is left in it. She's left there overnight. Harry pulls her out of the pit in the morning and holds her and asks if she's okay. She gets the other half of her head shaved, and she is now fully accepted into the group. Some very important things happen here. As the biggest person in the group, Harry has total control over the pit, and only he can lower and take people out of it. Like, I suppose Harry could be lowered into the pit by everyone else, but that's not even recognized as an option. Also, with Harry being the one who controls who goes in and out of the pit, he becomes the savior of the people being taken out of it. And to add insult to injury, after Harry's sexual coerciveness, and after he blames the whole interaction on Sherry, and after he creates the punishment for her, it's his warm embrace that brings her out of the pit. Sherry's mom returns to see that Sherry's now part of the group. Sherry's mom then says that while she and Tiger were gone, she sold their house and are going to donate the proceeds to Spark. And she's going to live with the group, and she gets her head shaved. Throughout the movie, Sherry potentially always had a normal home to go back to if everything went wrong, but now this is gone. Sherry is then seen carrying chickens. It seems like they're always doing chores around there. Nancy says,
Listen, Pat, I need to talk to you. I think I'm out of here, man. What? But you look over here, you're clean. What about that toast you made? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like being clean. I like getting wasted. I fucking love it. Ax and me, we're planning a breakout just for a few days to party in Lisbon, have fun. I'm jonesing. Harry's just no fun anymore. I can tell you're not exactly psyched. You could come. I might not even come back if I don't miss anyone too bad. I'm starting the band up, after birth. Yeah, you think what's going on here is wrong? Well, no. No, not at all. I'm just bored. A second. This is a test. Harry put you up to this. Fuck, you had me going. That. No.
Sherry opens up to her mom about this exchange, and her mom says,
It's a test, don't you think? Don't worry, we'll just report it.
Whoa! No, Mom, promise me you won't tell.
Harry whistles and calls everyone over.
Someone has deeply hurt and disappointed me. All right, let's get this over with. I want that person to step forward now.
And Nancy steps forward.
You're going straight in the pit.
Wait a minute.
I thought she got the chosen punishment,
Hey,
and
you
we
want to
all
go
agreed.
down there with her? This is our dream. This is an opportunity to make something of ourselves, and she wants to betray that. She wants to destroy that.
Harry!
Then Sherry steps forward as tribute.
Yeah, it was me. I'm the culprit. The whole thing was my idea.
Why am I not surprised by this?
Yeah, well, I used to believe in you. But now I don't. There was something amazing here, but it's gone. I don't know what happened, but it's gone.
You don't have the right to say that. Part-timers like you come along and fuck things up. Who says they go in the pit?
Everyone raises their hand, and Harry says, you know we're doing this for their own good, and slowly Sherry's mom raises her hand as well. Nancy and Sherry are lowered into the pit. Then, after everyone is gone, Doc sees Harry peeing on Sherry and Nancy while they're in the pit. While in the pit, Nancy confesses that Harry told her that she would never be forced to have sex with him and that she would always want it, and that she can't stop thinking about him. In the barn, Doc is showing the group how to pack bottles of wine, but she keeps looking up at Harry and stammering in fear and frustration. We then see Nancy is having an asthma attack. Sherry screams for help, but Harry tells the group to ignore them. He states,
All right. Who's gonna finish the most boxes? Huh?
They're quiet at first, but then Blade starts quietly chanting "Spark It Up," and soon they're all loudly chanting it. Just like the sheep chanting 4 legs good, 2 legs bad in Animal Farm. The group is basically falling apart around them, but they just keep following the leader. They just keep saying the mantra. DeBoer argues that anarchist groups like this one are susceptible to pseudo-authoritarian rule. He states, they provide a terrain favorable to informal domination over all anarchist organizations by propagandists and defenders of their ideology. But this isn't inevitable. It just means that we need protocols against it. Mad Axe sneaks away to help Nancy and Sherry. He drops down some water, but they need to be lifted out. He's too weak to lift them both out, but Mad Axe is able to pull up Nancy's limp body. He listens for her heartbeat, but she's dead. He then helps Sherry out of the pit. Harry walks up to them, and Doc runs up to Nancy, and everyone sees what's happening. Sherry covers Nancy's face with her coat and storms off. Mad Axe and Sherry go to get in the van, and Sherry asks her mom to come, but Tiger pulls her away. Sherry's mom hugs her, but refuses to leave.
Who wants to leave? You're all free to go. Who wants to go?
Can't you see? He's a soul sucker!
Doc yells at them to wait, and she leaves with them. By some surprise twist, as they're driving away, Tiger, the loyal companion, starts running after them as well. I suppose at this point, Blade has become Harry's new right-hand man. Sherry, Mad Axe, and Doc drive until the van runs out of gas, and they go their separate ways. Sherry and Mad Axe start hitchhiking, which leads to yet more dancing. Like Mad Axe with Manson, and like Sherry with her mom. Mad Axe lays on the ground and Sherry on top of him. He's frail and she's the stronger one. Then they run, and run and run and run as the camera pulls away. Then, years later, Sherry changes her name to Izzy and joins the eco-terrorist group The East. Or at least, that's my headcanon. I mean, it adds up. We see a mom but no dad in this movie, and a dad but no mom in The East. And if Mouth to Mouth came out in 2005 and The East came out in 2013, the timeline does add up. So, yeah. Conclusion. Wow, what a cool movie. Lance, Dave of the Serfs, what do you think?
So I found this movie very problematic for a handful of reasons. One, it was kind of scatterbrained in that it was going all over the place. It had a lot of ideas, but not a lot of great execution, which is obviously the sign of a first-time filmmaker.
Yeah.
The fact that Ellen Page looks like she's 12 and is really sexualized in the movie
is a little unnerving.
Is really disturbing.
But I mean, at the same time, it sort of plays into what the movie's going for as well, right? Mm-hmm. Because I had a hard, until her mom popped up on screen, I didn't know whether she was just, an American traveling Europe.
Yeah.
Or if she was just a street person getting by in the streets of Europe.
Right.
So
Well, I mean, you must have found that out at the first phone call, because when she gets that first phone call is when you realize that she's kind of affluent. She's kind of like middle.
Yeah, that comes a little bit into the film, right?
Yeah, I know it does.
Because at first you start getting introduced to the Spark, that whole the
Spark, the organization led by shirtless men.
Yes.
You have to be shirtless in order to be a part of Spark.
That's generally how I want to say cults work, but
I mean, it turned out to be a cult.
It turned out to be a cult.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Spark ended up being a cult.
Like the way it starts off is pretty not want to say uplifting, but has this.
That's probably the best parts of the movie. It's the first like 20 minutes where it's about this radical organization of people, this commune, if you will.
Yeah, community on the streets.
Right, who are trying to save lives.
Yeah.
Who are trying to, they were teaching people about fentanyl. Like that was crazy.
Yeah.
You know,
I was like, oh yeah.
I was like, that's something we deal with every day in Vancouver. It's like the epicenter of the opioid crisis here. So that was all good. And then as the film goes on, you realize it goes into that, trope that so many movies do, where it's like, impressionable young woman joins organization because she's actually
good.
She's in love with one of the men. Like that's kind of a rabbit hole that these movies go down a lot. And
I suppose now it's like, I guess as an aside there, I had a hard time to even. They didn't really like build up that love story whatsoever, right?
Yeah.
He I guess recruited her with like a little like, hey, you should come to this little Spark thing.
We never wear shirts. It's great.
And she shows up, and then it's like, then they're in a she's in love with him.
Yeah, or something.
I had a hard time to do it.
Yeah.
I had a hard time figuring out whether she was idealistic and wanted to be a part of something on the street, or if she did it for carnal reasons.
Right. And then the other problem I had was that Spark is an organization. It starts out, like we said, good intentions, right? Good intentions, Marge. And then as it goes along the road, I was like, I can't even tell what they do anymore. Do they just get super fucked up outside of like wineries for like days on end?
Yeah.
And the cult leader sex shames the women he sleeps with and then kills them? Like,
did he kill him? No. Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it seemed very much that he's preying upon street people.
Yes.
That whole allure,
young impressionable.
The illusion
addicts.
of right. The illusion that we're helping you. The Spark is done as this, grassroots movement to help people who are disenfranchised and poor on the street and obviously addicted to drugs, heroin, what have you.
Yeah.
Gave them sort of a community sense and to clean everybody's with it together, and they're trying to get clean, and then they go to this, I guess, farm, a winery farm or what have you.
It's definitely not an animal farm.
It's not an animal farm.
No.
And they promised these guys along the way, we're going to go to this great refuge and it'll be amazing. And then they seem to put them to work there. And as soon as you see them to work, you start to see behavioral changes in some of the people. They shave their heads, classic cult stuff.
Yeah.
Everybody must dress uniform and restrictions on sexual activity and so forth.
Yep. Classic cult stuff.
Yeah. So it very rapidly turns into a cult thing out of the blue.
Yeah. And like I said, that was one of the biggest problems with the movie for me is not just the tonal shifts, but the actual narrative shifts, how it changes the structure multiple times.
Yeah.
And the most ridiculous example of that is when the mother and the daughter, she's like driving and they're like fighting each other.
Oh my God.
That scene went on for so long.
Yeah.
And it happened like 3 or 4 times.
And
It was
they're
like, I'm gone. And it's
and they dance
come
for
back.
a while.
Yeah. And he picks her up and carries her and then puts her down. It's like, I'm gone again. And then comes over and kicks the car. It's like, I'm back. And then jumps into another car and drives away. Like this is just ridiculous.
The mom aspect was totally unnecessary.
Yes.
You could have accomplished that just on the telephone call, and that would have,
sufficed.
Yeah, that would have explained all that. I also couldn't help but notice that Ellen Page is the only quality actor.
Yes, and wow, she's been a tour de force since she was like a little baby.
I guess so.
Yeah. That's true. The acting is.
She was solid with what work was given to her.
Yeah.
But everybody else was just an abject disaster.
And painful to watch.
Yeah.
As is most of the film. I mean, I don't know how much of it was autobiographical, because maybe that would.
Yeah, so Alison Murray, who was a director, I believe grew up in Alberta. She fled home at 15 and went and traveled Europe at 15. So there is...
So very, very autobiographical.
Yeah, so there's obviously some elements of her telling her story in that. Obviously, who knows to what degree does that, incur.
In summary, it was cool that this movie turned out to be the origin story of Skrillex. That was cool.
Excuse me?
Because they shave half of her head.
Oh, right!
I was like, that was the first time I've ever seen that look.
Yeah.
This predates Skrillex. But in all seriousness, I don't know, what would you give this? 3 out of 10?
Yes, a 3 out of 10.
The Serfs are going to rate this one 3 out of 10.
Cool, I'm glad you guys liked it. Okay, jokes aside. Yeah, it is a little bit of a jumbled mess of a movie. The selection of movies dealing with punk and anarchist culture are pretty slim pickings, so you kind of gotta settle. Narratively, though, even though it's hard to watch, this film has a very important lesson for folks interested in organizing groups which want to avoid the criminal justice system and hierarchies. Basically, this is why we need intersectionality. This is why we need direct democracy. This is why we need to destroy non-essential hierarchies. If you've made it this far into the video, and if you follow our work, you're probably hip to the fact that our current capitalist system is full of terrible abuses. But we can't be class reductionists either, and just assume that all it will take is abolishing the capitalist class and all the other forms of abuse will just fade away. Sure, you could make the rational argument that abusers are missing out. A racist is missing out on the enjoyment and experiences of other people and their cultures and music and styles and foods and traditions, and an authoritarian is missing out on the wide variety of ideas and help that come from authentically collaborating with other people, and someone who's sexually manipulative misses out on having a true, full, and meaningful relationship with their partner. But at the same time, let's not kid ourselves. Abuse may be a zero-sum game, but the abuser does benefit. They benefit at the victim's expense, but they benefit all the same. That's why they engage in the abuse, because they enjoy the benefit. In our activist groups and our charity groups and our bands and collective housing and affinity groups, we're most certainly planting the seeds for a better world. But we can't lose sight of the fact that even though these groups are far more just and egalitarian than our society at large, we can still be confronted with abusers, and abusers must be stopped. And I'd like to thank my wonderful patrons Edward Cruz, Linux Powered Communism, LS, PD Morin, and The Fool. And if you'd like to become a patron, go to patreon.com/radicalreviewer. And also, the Serfs and I both have cool merch for sale that you folks might want to get in on. All that said, if you're interested in radical theory, looking for a book recommendation or whatever, you can get your radical reviews here with the Radical Reviewer. Thanks for watching.
You're far too